Have you ever been in a situation where you start texting with somebody, maybe you meet them online or in a dating app, and things seem to be going quite well? In fact, maybe you feel like you're really building a connection and there's some pretty instantaneous chemistry. Maybe you've even seen them a couple times and you're feeling that way. But then all of a sudden, they ghost you out of literally nowhere. Well, if this is something that you might have experienced, you may relate to today's episode of Ask Thais. And in today's episode, we are going to cover the topic I am ghosted. What did I do wrong? And specifically, we have a question coming from Melanie out of Florida, where we're going to talk a little bit about something that happened to her. And at the end of this video, we're going to cover what we can do differently, what we can take away from this topic, what we can learn. And we'll talk about 3 really important steps so that this stops affecting you and so that you don't run into this situation in the future. So I'll kick it off here and I'll actually share my screen with you so you can see this for yourself. This is a question. I don't think I copied her name down, but she did share it from Melanie out of Florida. So she said, I was ghosted. What did I do wrong? She said, I'm a 27-year-old female who started talking to a man in their 30s. It usually takes me a while to really be interested in people, especially when I meet them online. After connecting with this guy who I thought was super cute, we started having conversations regularly. He would text me and ask me about my day, and we were talking all day, every day. I was traveling when we started communicating and set to come home 2 weeks later. After 10 days of talking all day, he suddenly ghosted me and never responded again. What did I do wrong? I don't understand. Please help. So we're going to talk about this. If this has ever happened to you, why might this be taking place? Well, of course, there are obvious things. Maybe you yelled at the person over text, or maybe you said something mean or cruel. But for the vast majority of people who go through these types of experiences, this is not why this is happening. So usually what happens is the first thing that we have to look at, and this is a really important step to take here. We're going to go through each of these together. Hopefully you can see these. The first question I always ask people when this happens is, how do you know you did something wrong? Chances are the person is maybe unavailable. Maybe emotionally they're unavailable, or maybe they start feeling insecure, or maybe they dropped off because they were overwhelmed and not ready for a relationship in their own life. But the first thing I would urge everybody to question if they are in this position or having this experience is, can you 100% know that it was you that did something wrong? Okay. And we're actually going to put this as a step here. So can you 100% know, and I want you to actually think about this if you can, that you did something wrong? And if you were communicating the same way you always did through the course of 10 days, chances are there was something internally that that person is going through, struggling with, or experiencing that made them unavailable to continue. And I think that one of the harsh things that happens is ghosting hurts for people because they assume that it's their fault. And they assume that, okay, there's something that I must have done. And then we feel like we don't know what that is or how to solve for it. Then we get, in that space where we start ruminating or feeling badly about stuff. So that's the first big question. Okay. And it's a really powerful question to ask. In fact, if you want to take it a step further, you can even ask yourself, what did I actually do well or right in the situation? And if you can go back through and look at some of those things, it can really help to equilibrate some of those intense emotions you're feeling and can give you some pretty immediate emotional relief. Now, I want you to ask yourself this next question. Okay. So this is sort of question number 1. How do you know you did something wrong? But question number 2 is, what stories are you telling yourself? Are you saying it's all my fault? Are you telling yourself the story, I'm not lovable, I'm not likable, nobody ever wants to date me? If you tell yourself these stories after being ghosted, ghosting is not just going to be an uncomfortable experience like it would for example, a securely attached person. Ghosting will become an excruciating experience because if you tell yourself these things like, I'll never meet someone who wants to date me, or if you tell yourself the story, I am unlovable, or I'll always get rejected. As soon as you tell yourself these stories, you will go from the unmet needs that you experience when you're being ghosted into excruciating suffering, right? Into sort of that being the very next level of pain. It's not a very good thing to experience. So I want you to actually write these stories out if you can, or just think of them in your mind and then try to question them. Can I really know that I'll never meet someone who wants to date me? Can I 100% know that I'm truly unlovable? In fact, we actually have proof of otherwise. And the more you do this, and even if you ask yourself this question, it can be a really great prompt for this. You can say, Could this situation be about something other than this? Okay. And this being like this meaning you give. Okay. So, for example, the person ghosted me because I'm unlovable. Could the situation be about something other than me being unlovable? Could it be that that person's not a good communicator or they just got out of a recent relationship? And the more we find those counteracting ideas, again, the more we will quickly create emotional relief. The third thing is we suffer or we experience pain really because we have needs that person was meeting that now feel stripped away. So you have to ask yourself the question, what needs was this person meeting in our texting exchange, right? So for Melanie specifically, what needs were being met by this person? Maybe there was a sense of feeling special. Maybe there was a sense of connection. When we can't create closure with a person because they go MIA, we can learn what needs that person represented and get better at meeting those needs in the relationship to ourselves and with other healthy sources like good friends, trusted family members, etc. And that will help us fill that void that is left by the person. And it's actually that void itself of needs that is a big part of why ghosting is painful. Okay. So you can actually make a list of the needs and come up with a list of strategies to meet them. You can even put them in like a column, right? So to meet them. So for example, you might put a little column with like your needs in one column. This person made me feel seen, heard, connected, special, important. And then in the next column, you would say, I'm going to connect to myself through journaling. I'm going to connect to myself through meditation. I'm going to make myself feel seen by checking in with my feelings more often. Feel special by prioritizing myself and my needs more frequently in my life and relationships, etc. Last but not least, okay, and I will say, by the way, before I get to point number 4 here, if you do want to do a deeper dive into how to heal after feeling broken up with or ghosted, I actually have a free course you can check out that actually has all these different workbook exercises, a list of needs and traits, and all these different things that can help you get clear on your path that you can check out fully for free just for a limited time, and I will link that down below. But number 4 here is, what standards do you have in a relationship? Sometimes when we get into a position where we're so focused on somebody ghosting us, we get so caught in this feeling of like, oh, it's me, I'm not good enough, it's my fault, that we don't think of like, do I want to be in a relationship with somebody who ghosts people right now? Do I want to invest my time in somebody who's clearly not emotionally available? And we get so focused on like the story of how we did wrong that we forget about like, hey, look at how this person's showing up. It's like that Maya Angelou quote, right? When somebody shows you who they are, believe them. So if that person's not available right now, they weren't going to be available for you. And what matters more is that you move towards the solution rather than focusing on the problem that you can't solve, which is their behavior. And instead go, what are the standards I'd like to have going forward? What am I looking for in a relationship? And the more you double down on focusing on that, the more you are setting yourself up for success in the future and putting your focus and energy and attention in a better place where it belongs. So that's it for today. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope this was helpful for you if you've ever been ghosted. Thank you so much for watching and for listening. And if you have more questions, please let me know, similar to how Melanie did. Let me know in the comments down below. I am selecting some different questions here for future videos. And please don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you're enjoying this. Can't wait to see you in the next videos.